As Joel Salatin says, if it's worth doing poorly at first, because if you wait until you can do it perfectly, you'll never get started. Maybe we're taking that a little too literally, but I don't think so. If you followed along with us at all, you'd know that in just a couple of days, we're culling these 8 sheep and both of our pigs. Our plan is to fill up our freezer and our bellies until we can get our next set of sheep going for the next year. And we've also talked about our long-term vision of wanting to actually breed out our own animals. So that way we're not having to bring animals in from off farm every single year. So after a lot of discussions and deliberation, we've decided that we're not going to cull our animals. At least some of them. We're gonna keep Sausage and Patty, and we're gonna keep 2 of the ewes. If you're not familiar, that's our female sheep. And it's also totally possible that between ewes and rams and sows and boars and wethers and everything else like that, I mess it up because frankly, it's a lot of terms to learn, and we don't know what they all are. But anyway, now the trick is with that though, we only have ewes. We only have female sheep. So we need a ram. And the other problem with Sausage and Patty is they're brother and sister. Not to mention the fact that Sausage over here has been castrated. So we need to get more animals. You can imagine how thrilled Rachel is to hear that. Now some of you like us might be saying, well, if you just need Patty, why not just butcher Sausage and get the meat from him since he can't really do anything? Well, pigs, like sheep, are social. They don't like being by themselves. They like having friends. So we're gonna keep her brother around until we can get a boar, and then we'll send her brother off to the butcher after that. The considerations for all of this were we wanted to start breeding anyway. We were literally looking at how much it was going to cost us to get breeding pairs, and it was going to cost us a ton of money. Because with the plan that we had worked out, basically we were going to buy a set of meat animals, and we were going to buy a set of breeding pairs that we could start to breed out. And you can imagine that that's starting to get really expensive when you're talking about a dozen animals or more. And we were watching a video from Justin Rhodes the other day, and he said that you're basically 3 years out from whatever you're gonna eat. And now what he was talking about was cows. But that put us in kind of a little bit of a mental shift where instead of thinking, okay, well, we wanna be completely eating everything off of our farm by the end of next year, well, if we're planning for 3 years, we can save ourselves a ton of money, we can grow out our own stock, and we might just have to like buy a couple extra animals from off farm for the next couple of years and still have them slaughtered. Like, they'll still be local animals. So what are all the issues that this is gonna rise for us, considering the fact that we weren't planning to winter any animals other than these chickens right here, which we've already got the plan set for them? Well, obviously we want to get started breeding as soon as possible. We have the capabilities of being able to hold lambs and piglets even if they were born in the winter, which would be basically an impossibility right now. They'll be born in late winter, early spring. As for where we're going to keep them, let me introduce you to our carport. This is a roughly 12-foot high carport that the previous owner bolted into the ground, and we don't really have a use for. So basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna put some gates on either side and also some gates in the middle, so that way we can separate out the pigs and the sheep. And when the animals aren't on pasture, we'll put them in here on deep bedding. Now, to be clear, some other things are changing because we weren't planning on having any animals through the rest of the year. I was mowing down massive portions of our yard that we had already used as pasture or that we weren't going to use as pasture for the rest of the year. That stops immediately. We still want them to be able to graze through the winter whenever there's not snow on the ground. Both our pigs and our sheep are well hardy enough to be able to make it through pretty much any kind of winter we're planning on having here. We also need to plan how to get hay, which is, again, that was next year Jake and Rachel's problem, not next month. Luckily, we live in an area that's literally surrounded by hayers. So being able to find hay isn't going to be a problem. We know that we're not going to be able to source organic hay this year, and we're just living with the fact that that's going to be happening. And here's the truth of it. That hill right here behind me, they're growing hay on that hill. They fertilize that hill, and all of that chemical fertilizer is going to run down the hill onto our property anyway. So until we can manage to either buy that property or somebody else moves there that doesn't want it hayed, we don't really get to enjoy the benefits of truly organic hay or forage anyway for our animals. And that sucks for us, but that's the freedom that they have to do agriculture how they'd like to. Now, we had also considered doing AI. That's artificial insemination. But when we were looking at the costs, it didn't really make sense to do AI over just buying an animal and having it, and then we don't have to do AI year after year after year, and we can either sell that animal or just do a swap with another homestead that has similar practices to us, so that way we get some genetic diversity in a year or two. Now, here's what does suck a little bit. Our thoughts of a nice leisurely winter, just coming out, taking care of the chickens for 20 minutes, and then being able to relax most of the day, kind of goes out the window. We're gonna have as much work, if not maybe a little bit more, taking care of all of these animals. We're gonna have more moves. It's gonna be harder to set up paddocks and fences. And when snow is coming in, we've got to deal with that. Is it enough snow that we take them off pasture, or do we just keep them off pasture anytime there's going to be snow? Those are all considerations we haven't even gotten to yet because we changed our minds like 3 days ago. But we already called the butcher, changed out our order, and said that we were bringing 6 sheep, so they're no longer expecting 10 animals. The other reason this creates more work is because we have to keep track of the genealogy. We got to make sure that we're culling the right stock and that we're not doing things that are going to mess this flock up for years and years to come. Whereas before, we could be perfectly happy pushing that responsibility off onto somebody else to manage and keep track of. But here's the thing. Our goal is to grow a multi-generational permaculture paradise where all of our outputs are minimized because of our early inputs. Taking the sacrifice of a couple generations to do this now and set up a really well-established breeding stock will pay dividends and will reduce our food costs for years and years and years to come. So as one of our mentors, Justin Rhodes, says, the best way to learn is to do it, and the best time to do it is today. So here's your reminder to always be thankful for the process.